Okay, guys. I think it's finally time that we talk a little bit about Maplestory. And I'm smiling a little bit because I've tried to make this video 3 times already, and it just feels so extremely confusing to talk about that I feel like I have to keep going back and trying to figure out new ways of talking about it that are less difficult. So Maplestory is an MMO that is unlike anything else that I've ever played in my life. And it's sort of my dirty little secret in MMOs because it is hard to argue that it is a very good game. And it's like the only MMO that I play that I don't recommend that anybody makes their main game. But it is an MMO that I recommend because it's sort of a circus oddity of the MMO world. It is unique in the way that it is a side scroller. First of all, primarily, the combat is different than every other MMO that you play. This one is played completely with keyboard alone. You move with the arrow keys. You set your skills to all kinds of different buttons all over the keyboard. The method of progression is really different from everything else. It feels unique constantly. And because there's nothing that feels like it, and because the feeling of actually playing the game is pretty good, I have come back to this game for over 4,000 hours since Big Bang. Now, I started Maplestory in probably 2006, way back in the day. I remember when this game was a 200 megabyte download, and it took me 2 hours to download that. I remember what my download speed was specifically because of Maplestory. I had to download it and re-download it over and over again because my stepdad thought that it was slowing down the computer, and it probably was. And so I have a lot of really deep childhood memories tied into this game. But I've come back to it as an adult, and there is something really special here. Now, there are tons of flaws. Their issues abound in ways that you can't even imagine a game to be riddled with issues. It is suffering from the Adventure Quest problem in that it feels kind of cobbled together and everything is very disjointed. At one point in time, Maplestory was a very connected world that people walked around in and traveled on foot from place to place to do all of these different things. They would go from, this continent that we're on currently all the way to a continent called Orbis, called Ludus Lake. And they would travel between all of these places on boats that you had to wait 15 minutes for. They would show up every 15 minutes, and it would take you 15 minutes to travel between the two of them, and it cost a sizable chunk of gold. There was so much long play time that was just waiting around and talking to each other, and so people developed really fond memories of this game because all those things that you talk about with MMOs being social and the need to actually interact with people, it was always built into Maplestory. Now, as Maplestory has grown, they have realized that the social aspect of MMOs has kind of gone away in large, and they've created new ways of getting around that were always in the game before, but now they're much more readily available, and it's almost considered that you will be using them every single time. So when you first log in and you kill your first 300 monsters, you're going to get a hyper teleport rock for 3 days as your daily gift, and this is an item that you use to teleport to wherever you want to go, so no longer do you have to get on a boat and go from place to place, which is kind of a complaint that people have, but now you can just go on a map, click there, and then you teleport right to that map. Now, this becomes important because of how, like I said, disjointed this game has become. This game is a never-ending grind where everybody is rushing as many characters as possible to as high of a level as possible. And the reason that they're doing this is twofold. There is what is called Legion in this game. And in your Legion, you level up your characters, and it goes to your total account level. And this total account level unlocks more of this Legion grid as you get it further and further up, and then you can take your characters and you can place them as little Tetris pieces into this grid, and you will get stat bonuses from having the grid filled out in that area. Each spot gives you more or less points depending on what character you have in there and what they actually do. And as you level up your characters further, these pieces that they have grow so they can reach more of this grid and give you more bonuses. So what you're doing is you're leveling up a whole bunch of alt characters in order to support your main character and grow your account that way so that you can have a very powerful single character that you can go through and do you know, more leveling on, basically. Lots of in-game things like bossing, but most of that is considered dailies at this point, and you don't even do it with other people a lot of the times unless you're doing some of the harder bosses in the game. So you're really locked into playing this game in kind of a solo way, but there's lots and lots of conversation going on. I've been in plenty of guilds in Maplestory over my years, and people are still very social and have these long sort of conversations about life and you know, what they're doing with their lives and how they like this game or how they play it. There's just lots and lots of things going on in the community. And it's a very active community. You can go to the Reddit and you can see that there are tons of people who are really, really into Maplestory, but it becomes kind of problematic. Before we get to that, let me talk about the other reason that you level up alts, and it's called link skills. So link skills are passives that you gain, some of them are active, but passives that you gain from other characters. And by leveling them up to different levels, you unlock different levels of their link skill, and this can be everything from EXP bonuses to attack bonuses to ignoring enemy defense to being able to give you more crit to being able to make you invincible right before you die. Things that make your life significantly better, and then you can see all of your linked stat bonuses over here and what they actually contribute to the character that you're playing. So there's all kinds of builds that people put together to actually like make their time playing more enjoyable and make their main character powerful. But we do need to talk about some of the issues with this game, and this is why I recommend this to people mainly as a circus attraction and something to just experience in the way that I tell everybody all the time that, you know, you should go out and experience as many MMOs as possible, even if you're going to put 10, 15, 20 hours into them, just so that you can know what they feel like and what people are talking about whenever they conversate about this game. There's so much conversation that I have on the Discord and in streams and all of these video comment threads and all these things where people are asking me about different MMOs that I've played, and one of the reasons that I think that people enjoy watching my channel so much is because no matter what MMO they talk about, the odds are that I've probably played it for at least a little bit to be able to remember what it feels like, and the feel of an MMO is really, really important because that's the thing that we actually end up latching onto. Combat in Maplestory is extremely unique, and the feel is unlike anything else, so I'm going to go do some combat while I talk about the rest of what is going on in this world and how you play it and all those things and the problems that exist inside of this world, because like I said, there are many of them, and people try to ignore all the problems in video games, but I think it's best to know ahead of time going in so you can avoid any pitfalls. So Maplestory as a video game has lots and lots of microtransactions, so much so that they've actually created entire servers that are dedicated to being microtransaction and free trade free, so that you can't just buy gold and then go through and buy gear. You actually have to earn it, and the progression actually feels really good in that world. Most of my characters are on an actual microtransaction world because I've been playing since before Reboot was actually a thing. And I already had an account started when I came back officially, so I just played on there for a long time, but now since then I've made Reboot characters, and I would probably recommend that, especially if you're somebody who plays something like RuneScape, playing Reboot would be a really, really good place for you to start off, and then if you want to whale out on this game, that option is always there for you. So microtransactions are not just pay for convenience in this game, although there is a lot of that. You can buy pets with your microtransactions, you can buy things that re-roll your stats to make you more and more powerful. You can re-roll your gear stats. You can re-roll basically everything. You can buy items that are worth lots of money. You can sell them in the shop. Then you can get gear. You can basically do everything from microtransactions and circumvent a whole portion of this game, and I have done plenty of that over the course of my time playing Maplestory. I think probably my entire time playing Maplestory, I've spent maybe $1,000 on this game in total, which is kind of embarrassing because it's the only game that I've ever spent that kind of money on. But when I was playing it and was really active in it, I really enjoyed spending that money, and I don't have a lot of regrets about it, even though I would never do it nowadays. There are lots of ways to progress characters, but all of them end up being grinding. So what I'm doing right now and what you're seeing is sort of a big part of this game. Fighting on maps and finding the maps that work best for your character and your play style is a huge important part. There are some what would be considered best maps for you to train on, depending on what your level range is and what your skill at the game is. But those maps are usually very contested, especially on worlds like Reboot, which are the most populated servers, so most people play without microtransactions. And on those servers, people are contesting maps. So whenever someone's on a map, there isn't a whole lot of party play. People don't gang up together because you're completely capable of clearing an entire map yourself. And in fact, to the point that there are items in this game that boost the spawn rate of monsters because people want more enemies on the screen to be able to wipe, so their EXP rates go up. XP rates are extremely small in this game, so the grind never ends. They raised level cap about 3 years ago, and it took nearly 3 years for someone to finally hit level cap again, and that was just on a single character. Remember that getting all of your characters to the highest level possible is something that actually makes you have benefits on your main character, so you'll be doing lots and lots of that. There is basically no dead content, and that's not true. There's a lot of dead content in this game, but all of it is still experienceable, and because people aren't just playing on one main character and constantly making alts, which they're making more and more classes all the time, and re-rolling classes and changing all their stats, there's lots of reasons to go back and make new characters. So a lot of the good maps are always contested, and you're always interacting with other people because of that, even if it's just in trying to have a little duke it out sort of moment so that you can try to take that map from them and be able to use the most efficient way to grind your character up. Getting your characters to level 200 is one of the most important things, because if you get 40 characters up to level 200, you have max Legion level, which allows you to effectively have the entire Legion grid unlocked and get the maximum amount of stat bonuses. So people are, like I said, constantly grinding those characters up and trying to get to these different places, and using all these EXP boosts that you get from the events that are going on constantly. There are a lot of dailies in this game. It can drive you mad, is basically what I'm getting at here. If you've never played Maplestory before and you don't really have a good idea of what's happening in this game, it can really frustrate you and make you feel like you don't want to play it, because it will put you in situations constantly to where you need to log in every single day, and there's huge FOMO moments going on. But if you actually participate in them, it can expedite your process of getting far into this game really, really quickly. In a lot of the events, you'll get items that boost character levels from anywhere from 1 to 10 levels per item that you use, and it's a random chance that goes down for the higher amounts of levels, the higher level that that character already is. So if you have a character around level 120 and you do an event on your main character, you can shepherd all of those items over to that other character and get them up to level 200 without actually having to play that character a whole lot. If there's characters that you don't like, and there are going to be characters that you don't like, but a lot of the characters that you won't like have some of the best bonuses in the game to link to other characters. So it's a war of attrition with your own endurance in this game, and it's a game that I take lots and lots of breaks from. It is completely free to play except for the microtransactions, but once again, you can circumvent all of those by playing on different servers. The combat is really snappy, the movement is really, really good, and you never feel slow whenever you're playing Maplestory. There's multiple different ways of moving, so what you're seeing currently is what's called a flash jump character, meaning that I can double jump and upwards jump in the air, and there's different levels of mobility depending on what class you're playing. There's different eases of playstyle. There's characters that are basically one-button characters. A lot of people can play this game one-handed, and it's actually a lot of times referred to as Maple and Chill, where you just log in, you put a video on your second monitor, and you just veg out to Maplestory and level up some characters. There are ways of going about getting gear that are very cryptic, including fighting different bosses and getting drops from them that then you use to spend in a shop after you get enough of them to get random chances at higher level gear. There are ways to upgrade all of your gear and upgrade all of your stats. There's multiple different systems, including the Star Force system, which is a way that you upgrade your character. There are ways to re-roll your stats. There are ways to re-roll the stats of your gear. There are ways to add bonus stats onto your gear. There are a whole bunch of different metas as far as the actual equipment that you're going to be using throughout the game. It is just a massive cluster of bad and great game design all at the same time. It is super addictive. If you are the type of person who has a hard time not spending money on video games, definitely play Reboot and do not come to Maplestory on the regular worlds, because it will wrap you up in ways that you can't imagine. You can get such insane boosts, and there's tons of cosmetic items that come out every month, and fashion is really, really huge in this game. I have not participated very much because I don't have deep enough pockets to participate in it. There is everything from chair collecting to mount collecting to getting new cosmetic items for your outfit. It is just a huge, huge game that most people, I think, haven't ever experienced. And I think that if you haven't, you should definitely give Maplestory a try, because it is something that is unlike any other MMORPG that you'll ever play. And for that reason, I recommend it to just try out. Put 40 hours into it, do it over the course of a couple of months if you want to, an hour here, an hour there, get one character up to level 200 and just see what the process is like. And then watch some Copperson videos on how to level up a character in under 2 hours, and you will be mind blown by the methods that people are using. Even if you don't have the hyper teleport rock, there are so many ways to get around in this game that are really cryptic. Like, you go to the dimensional portal, and then you come down here and you go to Mushroom Shrine, and then you move to Mushroom Shrine, you teleport to this map. Then after you get to Mushroom Shrine, you run over here to this guy and you talk to him, and then you go to the 6-path crossway. And then once you get to the 6-path crossway, you come over here and you go down to this place. And over here, you go up until you get to the interdimensional portal, which takes you to Pantheon. Then you go to through the interdimensional portal, and I know, this is crazy. I'm not saying this is good. Remember this, that like, while I'm showing you all this stuff, I'm not saying that it's good. I'm saying that it's interesting. And for me, that's almost the same thing. Then you talk to Fennel. Sorry, you don't talk to Fennel. Then you click on the portal again, and then you can select basically any area that you have unlocked to go to. And this is how you get around in Maplestory without the actual teleport rock. So if you're, you know, in the middle ground levels and you want to go fight things, you can go to Leafre, or Leafer, however you pronounce this frickin' place. You go to Leafer, and then you come down. That's what quests look like when they can be completed, by the way. This little book. I don't even know what quest I have. Level 100 Star Force. Yeah, so let's do this. Have I not even unlocked Star Force in this character? This is a new character that I'm making and working on to be a main on this game. Cannoneer is my favorite class so far, which is the class that I'm playing currently. I might show you guys classes before we get out of it. So then you go over here to these guys, and you would just start training on them, or you can look at the map and you can see all the different locations that sort of spread out from here. There's a boss in this area called Horntail. It all goes down throughout all of these areas with different monsters. You can mouse over it, you can see what level the monsters are, you can find a map that you really enjoy playing on, and then you just set your grind together and you start killing everything on the map, and it just gets better and better as you go. A lot of the classes that are some of the best for bossing are some of the worst for mobbing, so there's whole different things. There's bossing characters that you want to set up, there's going to be mobbing characters that you're going to set up. Mobbing is when you go around and fight, just clearing maps constantly in order to level up your characters. It's a very interesting game that has a lot of stuff going on, and before I ramble too much about it, I guess I'll go ahead and end the video. Let's take you guys back to World Selection real quick, just so you can see the level of what I'm talking about with all these characters. It runs in a weird way whenever you go back to the places. So let's just, you know, Scania is a very underpopulated world, but if you go to something like Kronos or Hyperion, you'll see that the population is much higher. This is the original reboot world, and there's a ton of people playing these at all times. Most of these channels are very heavily populated, but if you like that, it's a great place to go. So if you go here, you can see all of the characters that I've made over my time playing this game. This is one page. I have a second page over here. I have another 7 characters on Reboot, I think is what I counted before I made this video. There is just so much going on and so many different play styles that you can go through. Let's go ahead and click Create Character, and I'll just show you guys all the different classes that there are. So Angelic Buster just got a remaster, meaning that she's totally different now. There's Lynn. I haven't played this one. I haven't played Kali. I've played lots of Cygnus Knights, so this is actually not a single character. There are all these classes inside of it that follow the archetypes of Pirate, Mage, Thief, Warrior, and Archer. Then if you move over to Mihail, this is another character. Then Explorers also has the archetypes in there as well, the 5 archetypes. Then you have characters like Dual Blade, Cannoneer, Lara, Kane, Adele, Hoyoung, Pathfinder, Ark, Ilium, Cadena, or Aaron, Evan, Mercedes, Phantom. And all these characters have their own storyline that they're going through that like fold into the actual storyline of the world, which is very varied and deep. There are characters that only come around during certain times of the year, and you can only make it certain times of the year that start at higher levels, and you can level up. There are classes within each character. So like Demon has 2 classes, Resistance has 4 classes. Xenon is a character that uses all the stats instead of just one stat, so the building gear is completely different from Xenon. Kaiser has a transformation that he can go into, which is this Dragon Armor transformation. There are characters that allow you to flash jump. There are characters that allow you to teleport. There are characters that allow you to just completely fly around. In fact, a lot of the hacks that people used to use in this game of like drawing mobs together, there was what we called monster magnets, which just pulled monsters in the same place. This was hacks way back in the day that people used, or the ability to just fly around. A lot of those have been turned into mechanics for classes as time has gone on to sort of circumvent the need to do all of these things. They are more or less AFKable depending on what their actual play style is like. So this one has a really high difficulty, but then if you go to someone like Shade, I believe, has a much lower difficulty. So if you want something easier to start off with on your first time, you can see that. Although I would recommend just going through and finding an aesthetic that you really like and sort of building your first character around your favorite aesthetic, because if you like the character, you're going to play them a lot more. Kana was the really popular one for a long time because she actually used to boost everybody's spawn rate on maps, so people would just pay you mesos to come and just stand idly on their map and keep a skill up all the time. And yeah, that's all the characters that we've gone through now, and as you can see, there's a lot of them. I don't know if there's actually 50. There's probably more like 30 plus at this point. So there's something for everybody, depending on how difficult you want your character's time to be, how slow you want them to be, how much attack you want them to be, how much defense you want them to have. There are classes that are basically immune to everything. Oh, dude, I haven't even talked about the fact that explorers not only have these 5 classes, but within these classes, there's job advancements as well. So like in the mage for explorers, you can become an ice and lightning mage, a fire poison wizard, or a cleric. And all of those have further job advancements that make them more and more powerful. In the thief class, you can either use ranged throwing stars, or you can use daggers to fight with. The warrior becomes either the paladin, which is basically impossible to kill, the dark knight, who has a longer reach than all the other ones, or the hero, which does the most DPS per character. The pirate class has the 2 different ways of fighting, either the brawler or the what are they called? They use pistols. Oh, I can't remember what they're called. But 2 different ways of fighting. You can either man a gunship, or you can go Super Saiyan as that character. The archer can either use crossbows or regular bows, and there's different play styles for each of those as well. And in fact, I think that the crossbow archer actually has 2 different versions of the crossbow archer, if I remember correctly. It's wild, dude. This game is nuts, and there's so much going on in it, and so few people have played it, that I just felt like I needed to make this video and sort of talk about it a little bit. And I know that like I've rambled a lot, but it's really hard, as you can see, to talk about everything that's going on in this game in a concise way, especially for someone like me who doesn't really write down their ideas in a well and can't read scripts very well. This is a hard game to talk about, and it's one that I've sort of shied away from talking about for a long time. But dude, it is so different than everything else that you've ever played, and it feels really good. There's this class Zero that you play 2 characters at the same time, and they both have different combat styles, and you have to switch between the 2 of them, and they have like dual attacks that use both of their things, and you map all these buttons to your keyboard, so you never have to be clicking around or moving the camera at all. You're just constantly fighting. It is really, really interesting and really, really fun, especially for a little romp into it. Like I said, it's probably not a game that you want to make your main game, but some people do, and some people really love it. At least check out the Reddit, go in there and find out what's going on in this game, and just see all of the different things that are, because it'll blow your mind, dude. Okay, that's the video, guys. Be safe out there. I'll talk to you on the next one. Have a good one, and bye.